back to the bridge. I look at it as the reason it's stayed the test of time, and it really does hold up. I mean, it's not, like it doesn't go by today's guidelines where we would want a lot of violence and graphic violence and things like that. I mean, if they remade this movie, I don't know what they would do with it. I would see it as if it was a remake, I would say try to keep with the real story, and I didn't try to remake it, and just have a mini series about the real Bridge of the River Kwai, right? How it went on. It's funny though. I went there, and the real Bridge of the River Kwai is the steel is still there. The steel bridge that they blew up a couple times and then they rebuilt it. I mean, that's how good the Japanese engineers are. They just rebuilt it, right? The original metal was actually a bridge in Java. They just dismantled the entire thing and brought it to Thailand, and then reassembled it, with the help of the POWs. Horrifyingly enough. I mean, I'm laughing, but if I was one of those guys, I went and saw the brutal conditions. They have a very nice museum there with all the horrible, wax figures of all the, emancipated prisoners, what they went through, so it's all right there. Even though later on they say in the book that the conditions got much, much better after the railway was finished, right? So basically, the Japanese did what a lot of people said was impossible, to build a bridge through that jungle, right? Too many mountains, too many this, too much of that. Forget it, right? But they did it, and would it ever been done without the war? I don't know.
Well, Japan's good for doing stuff that you didn't think.
I'd love to take the full trip all the way up to Rangoon, but I don't know if we can. I don't know if I can even go into Rangoon right now, because Burma's always got problems, right? But I stopped there, but I walked on the bridge. I got in a boat and I went up and down under the bridge. I have lots of video and pictures from somewhere of all that stuff. I went to the grave site. The third grave I looked at, guess whose name is on it? Waters. So Waters. Died. He was 23 years old. Very young.
Oh, no.
So most of those guys are very young. And it's funny, because the movie was not made in Thailand. They made the movie in Ceylon, in Sri Lanka. And for modern movie audiences, a little anecdote is that's the reason Steven Spielberg made, because Steven Spielberg's a big fan of Bridge of the River Kwai also, and he says before he made Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, he watched that movie many times, and then he made the movie. He did the Indiana Jones movie in Sri Lanka, or Old Ceylon, what they used to call it, right? The same place. So if you notice the big African, I mean the big vampire bats, or the big fox bats, right? Flying foxes, you see those there. Then he had that in Indiana Jones movie too, right? And what surprised me is how many Asian. I think they probably treated the Asian workers worse, which is funny to me, because the Japanese, their whole propaganda was that they're trying to liberate Asia. They
could have done it.
Liberate Asia by being bigger assholes than the other colonials were, right? So
pretty much the reason why Japan is like Japan and not like let's say Thailand or Malaysia or the Philippines, stuff like that, is because when Japan opened, they saw what America and Britain was doing, and they're like, well, we're going to do that. So they just took the playbook from Britain and America and just did exactly what we did.
Right.
They just did it in a very small time, where Britain did it for a long time.
Right. I know it was very well coordinated, and I guess over time, they hit all the. I always thought when they hit Pearl Harbor, I just thought that was an isolated incident, but I didn't realize that they hit all the major colonial cities exactly the same time. They hit Bangkok, they hit Singapore, they hit Manila, all exactly the same time.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? They did all that.
Right? So they moved very fast. It's kind of like the Germans, the Blitzkrieg, right? They move very fast. And
Yeah.
and like there's a very famous British, he used to be the British consul in Chiang Mai for many years. He's written a lot of books. He was he was taken prisoner in Bangkok and put in a prison camp. So he was during the entire war, he was in a Bangkok prison camp. And he wouldn't even talk about it. He'd write books, and he said in the books that he didn't want to talk about it. He was so disturbing to him. I don't know what happened there, right?
But Japanese usually are good with their prisoners, for like I was reading an article like if the prisoners are starving, the Japanese soldiers are also starving.
Well, that's another thing. Good segue. When I first came to Kanchanaburi, I got up there on the train. I spent the night, and then I went over to the memorials that they have there along the river. The first memorial I came to was the Japanese one.
Yeah.
And in the book, I did see they actually put that Japanese one up early on. I think they put it up in 43.
Oh, yeah.
And they also, but around it, they also put little monuments for the Australians. There's another one. The Australians were pretty hard hit too. The British and the other ones that were there. But when I showed up there at that memorial, and they have a very big one for the Japanese, there was a big I don't know, contingency or a big group of Japanese were there doing a ceremony.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah.
They were putting the flowers down or doing all kind of stuff. And I just sat there. I took a bunch of pictures, and I was just there with them, the only American there.
Yeah, in August, Japan, they have a thing called Obon, which is like I don't know. When did you go?
I came back from America. I went. It was one of my yearly trips back to America. I went over in February, and I came back in March, I think. And then I went right to Bangkok, and I decided I wasn't going to come back up to Chiang Mai until I went over to that was like one of my bucket list things I wanted to do, right? So I went and got on the train, and I went up there. So it was probably in March, in springtime, yeah.
Yeah, in March March there's some other holiday which is also the same. So March and August is called I don't know what's called in March, but in August it's called Obon, where you go to like your family's gravesite.
Right.
You do.
So it might have been March.
Clean it up.
1,000 Japanese died. The same thing, disease, and the jungle would just kill your ass, man. You get out in that jungle, you'll die without and in those days, like me, even living in Chiang Mai, I've got to get out of it. If it wasn't for the air conditioning, modern day air conditioners,
Right.
I don't know if I'd be living here. As long as I can get out of the heat, I'm okay. But man, that's heat will kill you. I can't. And